Each morning, Murdo would load up the transom box on the back of his tractor with silage, then park the tractor on the hill, ready for later. The transom box is a large metal box that fits onto the hydraulics on the back of the tractor, and it can be lowered and lifted. The silage that Murdo was feeding his cattle was not good, and had been left over from the previous year. Silage is made from grass that is cut and then put into a pit, then covered over with plastic to keep out the air and weighed down with old car tires. As you travel around Britain, you will often see silage pits. The problem arises when air gets into the grass as it ferments. It can become toxic, as the wrong type of mold will form, keep out the air, and the grass will turn into harmless and nutritious feed to see the cattle over the winter. Murdo's silage was toxic. The more he fed his cattle the silage, the more ill they became. All Murdo could see were his cattle getting ill, and decided that somebody must have cursed him. He made a small clay doll to represent the person who had cursed him, and laid the doll in the mountain stream near his croft. As the water washes away the doll, the curse is lifted, or so people believe on the island. Things got no better, so Murdo looked around for another reason for his bad luck. Then he realized what it was. It was the chicken. Morag had 6 chickens that scratched a living around the house and sometimes in the house. There was one that Murdo was sure was the culprit. Each morning it would herald in the sun as it stood on his doorstep. It didn't take many seconds for the bird to meet its demise, and that evening Murdo and his mother dined on chicken. The next morning it was raining hard, and Murdo, after a strong cup of tea and a glass of whisky and rosehip syrup, got ready to go to feed the cattle. Many folk on the island had a wee drum of whisky and rosehip syrup to fortify them to face the weather. That can be pretty bad in the winter on the island. Murdo was confident that today things would be different. He walked up the hill to his tractor. Everything was ready. The box had been filled with silage, and he decided to try the key to start the tractor. He turned the key in the ignition, and with no problem at all, the tractor roared into life. Murdo was overjoyed. The tractor hadn't started with the key for months. Murdo's face was a picture, and with a big grin he dropped the transom box and was going back to the house to tell his mother that everything was okay. The curse had gone. It had been the chicken after all. Then he saw it, poking out from under the transom box, a yellow chicken's leg. He lifted the box on the hydraulics of the tractor and saw his mother's last 5 chickens that had been sheltering from the rain under the box were squashed flat. With not a little fear, Murdo braced himself to tell his mother. He walked into the kitchen and told his mother that he'd killed the last of the chickens. Morag, wielding her walking stick with deadly accuracy, chased him out of the house. She told him to face the chickens, as they could still be eaten. Later, she told me, the chickens were like brown dinner plates with yellow legs. She made a soup out of them. It was sort of okay, she told me, but there were still feathers floating about in it.